Ladies and gentlemen, oh my God, Palantir has a red day. Guys, I think this is a healthy pullback for Palantir personally, and I think a lot of the bulls were expecting this and are kind of happy about this because a lot of people have been sitting on the sidelines right now waiting for a pullback, and we see a support level that gets tested today. And that was the big question for Palantir. Was we saw this crazy skyrocketing accumulation in terms of market cap and valuation, and the question was, when were we going to see some profit taking across the board? We're starting to see a little bit of that. Palantir is down about 8%, including the after hours, sitting at a support zone at about $60, where we did see a reversal. It's at that level right now. It'll be interesting to see if this cascade and this domino kind of keeps continuing in tomorrow's trading session, or if there will be a bounce back. We're going to be talking about everything that you guys need to know regarding Palantir, what's happening in the broader market, and especially in the next few days here, we have some very important earnings reports that will be coming up. So if you're a newer returning viewer, my Christmas wish is to hit 20,000 subscribers. Help me hit that goal. Hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, I'm not a financial advisor, collecting all the data and dispatching it to you. Now pop it up here. You can see Palantir opens up with a major gap to the red and immediately tests this $60 level of support. You see this bounce back here. Buyers were actually buying that dip about $61. There's a little bit of consolidation here, and where Palantir sits at right now is at this dotted green line right at about that support zone. We'll see if that does hold true. Now, what we're seeing in the options activity, actually a decent amount of calls. People could be anticipating a little bit of a buyback here or some support being tested at this level. And then you do have a lot of puts on the other side with trading volume at about 137 million. Now, a lot of people are going to be talking about, why was Palantir stock pulling back today? One of the big things is because I think it was due for a pullback. We do see right here, Alex Karp filed to sell 4.5 million shares of the stock on Friday, which has that market value that he sold for $266 million. This was predetermined by a 10b5-1 plan, which sells stocks at intervals to avoid, the insider trading. So we're seeing insiders that are continuing to sell. This is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, on top of what we're also seeing is that Palantir had announced last week that switch to the NASDAQ 100, which would trigger more ETFs to actually buy Palantir on a passive basis. And this is a big piece of bullish news, especially for anybody that knows about the QQQ. A lot of investors do invest into the QQQ. So Palantir cooling off here, reporting on, lifting the price to sales ratio above 50 and talking about Palantir is overvalued. Of course, Palantir is overvalued. We've seen this across the board. This is the biggest piece of criticism. However, the disconnection from that valuation is what has been reality. And now we're seeing maybe a little bit more of a connection, but nothing compared to what I think what a true valuation would be. Talking about here, you see tip ranks. They're going to start to see these bearish articles talking about, hey, stay away from now. Talking about Palantir stock. Listen, nobody knows where this is going to go, how low it's going to go, or how high it's going to go. But looking at the analysts right here, the specific analysts that they talk about, of course, they talk about all the high, valuation metrics. But looking at the 12-month forecast, they're talking about $33. That's where the analysts are sitting at 16 ratings. You see 50 on the high and 11 on the low. I don't know if Palantir is coming back down to $11, but nonetheless, Palantir coming down here, I think is a healthy correction, like I said. And the big question is, how many people are going to be buying the dip out there? Or down in the comments, do you think you're going to see more of a sell-off? It'll really, I think, depend on some of their catalysts that will be happening this week and some other market variables. But if profit taking still continues and we see some downward trend, I would not be getting emotional or scared at any type of point. Personally, that's just more attractive for people that are still bullish on Palantir in the long term because of, hey, Black Friday is coming up. But looking at this, Palantir, we do also have to acknowledge, even though it's had a red day, how well it's done this whole year. Now, Palantir is up about 256% on the year. It is one of the best S&P 500 2024 performers. So when in doubt, zoom out. Palantir has done incredibly well. I think we all know that just looking at this launch here from where Palantir was just a few short weeks ago here down at the 40s. Now, depending on looking at support levels. We do have a decent amount at that 60s. If that falls through, not a ton of support here, kind of in the mid 50s. We could see this pulling back a little bit quicker, which could cause more of an emotional and psychological response. So be kind of prepared for that risk for downside potential, especially with more of these stocks that are trading at a high valuation. A lot of these SaaS stocks, AI companies that are getting very involved into the trendiness behind what the AI boom has really been representing in the market. That could entirely happen in all possibility, just as, any type of fair warning out there. You also have here, more people are starting to cover this. We had, we saw this a few days ago about more Palantir 8 Partners LLC, who's been on the Palantir board right here, posted this kind of a controversial statement on X, and basically he was saying because it will force millions of buying into ETFs. This was about the conversion from going to the New York Stock Exchange to the NASDAQ, and talking about potentially driving up the share price to benefit. And he says here how that's going to provide tendies to all of the retail investors out there. That's who they're supporting. A lot of us know about some of that kind of drama that came out, and then the X account was deleted right after. We'll see what happens with that, if anything happens with that, if there's any type of investigation. This article just kind of talks about, this former SEC investigator said that these things could kind of happen. This could also bring bearish news across for Palantir. We'll see if this guy stays on the board. That'll be a big question going forward. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of a response plays out of this and how much of this is actually taking into seriousness versus if it's just kind of blown past us. So we'll see what happens with that. What's happening in the market, though, NASDAQ closes higher. We see the broader market that's doing actually decently well, kind of consolidating on the day, 0.6% in the NASDAQ, S&P 500 about 0.4%. Tesla does a good job helping to keep the broader market up. Now, Tesla is up about 5% on the day, and the Tesla rally is continuing to accelerate, especially after the post-election results. What we do see here, about that 5.6% here, you're seeing the team that's working to ease regulation of self-driving vehicles. You also see Apple and Netflix gaining, some percentages here. AMD working well. One of the big things is going to be NVIDIA. Now, Wednesday's report from AI chip NVIDIA here, that's going to be a big catalyst. I think what's going to be happening, not just in the market, but for the AI stocks particularly. And I think this could have an effect on Palantir personally. This could serve as a big major catalyst. This is green here. What we're really going to be talking about, though, is the Blackwell chips and the demand for the Blackwell chips. What's going to be happening at that. One of the pieces of information that was reported was that the chips overheat when connected in servers, citing sources familiar with that matter. So you're seeing some kind of, a drama coming out of there. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens, especially with interest rates that are going to be happening here and what the Fed is going to be doing. We saw some uncertainty from that perspective that the Fed could possibly be hesitant to further cutting interest rates for the rest of the year. And it makes sense because we've seen a lot of resilience in the economy. And the fact that we've seen resilience in the economy, a lot of people are anticipating that, hey, inflation might kind of reheat with the new administration that will be taking office from a political perspective next year. So if we see that, we're going to see treasury yields that will increase, and that is where uncertainty for the future of federal funds rate cuts, the probability that could decrease, which could cause some uncertainty and cooling off in the broader market, but we will see what happens with time. Now, NVIDIA currently sitting at about 140. I don't expect a ton of trading action to be happening tomorrow, specifically for NVIDIA, just due to the fact that we do have a big earnings report that will be released by them, and that's going to give us some insight on how things are doing on the hardware side for AI, since they are the leading competitor on the hardware side. And I think, like I said, this is going to have an effect on Palantir. Personally, Palantir, if we do see a pullback, we'll be keeping track, of course. I'm not one of those YouTubers that is going to be sitting here only talking about when these stocks are going up. I'm giving you guys just the pure information that you guys need from a non kind of biased perspective and from a non basically seeing things from both sides, trying to analyze both perspectives, respecting those opinions. That's really the goal of this channel. So when Palantir comes down, we'll be reporting on it every single day, making sure that you guys get all the up-to-date information that you need, along with the market and some of the other big trendy stocks. And on that note, if you have some of the other big trendy stocks that you want me to cover, put them down in the comments. I'll make sure to add them to the research list. We can try incorporating a few more different types of stocks into the channel, so that way you guys can stay up to date on the most important stocks that all mean a lot to you. Other than that, that's all that I have for you guys. We'll see what happens in tomorrow's market. Peace out. Take care. And if you made it to the end, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Let's hit that 20,000 by Christmas. That's my #1 wish. Peace out and take care.